of y'all like coffee?
Nope.
No.
No?
No, it's a natural
Hot or
diuretic,
cold?
and it makes me feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
I'm actually not a big coffee drinker either, but I wasn't sure. So, how about consensual sex? How do you feel about that?
Not a fan.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh wait, don't take that out of context.
Like,
2018, what do you mean no?
You know who else seems to think so?
Who's that?
Especially the virtual kind. Well, our friends over at Fox News, as well as the many senators who apparently had nothing better to do with their time. Back in 2005,
have non-consensual sex? When do we get political?
Because today we're going to talk about hot coffee. A little known. Well, no.
Is this
it's
the
a
story about the
well-known.
lady who spilled the McDonald's coffee?
So
on her
no,
cup?
it's funny that you mentioned that because when I was trying to do research for this, every
That
other
came up.
article was that. And then at one point, a friend of ours, John, who tried to help us out with some research, also came over with stuff about that story.
And he did a bunch of it. He's like, "This is what you're talking about?"
Yeah, as far as I know, not tied into video games. I think it happened in like the.
She
When did
probably
that
played.
happen?
She probably played Fortnite.
It's 90s.
All right, we got our Fortnite reference out of the way. But yes,
Damn it.
this is.
Sorry, I wasted on something so stupid.
This is about hot coffee, a mod in one Grand Theft Auto San Andreas where players could engage in some top secret and frankly very poorly controlled and crudely animated playable sex mini games, disgustingly showing the game's main protagonist, making love to his girlfriend in the comfort and security of her own home.
All you had to do was fuck the girl, CJ.
Leading to some huge public and government outcry, the likes of which I personally have never seen in my lifetime of playing games at the time. Which this led to massive recalls, re-ratings, millions of dollars, and even affecting a bunch of other video games around it. Yes, today's going to be about that hot coffee, that topic. I'm Randall Beatrice. My pals Austin Blakesley
Yo.
and Chris Antuano
That's me.
are also here with me today, as
That's
always.
me. I'm Mario.
That's Mario's thing, dude.
We're
Yeah.
Video games.
Video
dude.
games. You got us covered. But this is Hot Button, and who's ready for some overblown nonsense? I'm excited about this
Always.
one. I really am. Now, what's especially fun here for this topic is that nearly everyone on the entire planet knows about this fucking game series. And why shouldn't they? Grand Theft Auto is awesome. It rules. I've played them all. I was even a big fan since the beginning, going back to like 1997.
I never played any of the top.
The top-down ones.
Nah.
Grand Theft Auto 2 is fucking weird.
That's the top-down one, right?
Yeah, well, one is
think I might-
top-down as well, but two takes place in the future, and it's in like it has like a Neo kind of like kind of Asian vibe. And there's like
Alright.
arc weapons in it and stuff like that. It's really
sick.
weird. It had online stuff. And back in like before a lot of the. I mean, no, everything does, but no, we're going to talk about 2005's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and which I am assuming you guys have also played as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that one a lot?
Yeah.
I got it on my phone, dog.
You have that Android port or whatever.
iPhone, dude.
Does it really run on iPhone?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It controls.
Great.
It did, and they had to edit some music out of that version
Yep.
as well. Yeah. But this it's funny. San Andreas actually rates kind of in the middle of the GTA pack for me. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I did like.
Yeah, for sure.
I know. I like the setting, not as much as Vice City, but the characters and story in it are. That's where GTA's storytelling actually started to matter in a significant way. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
performances in that game are really
Oh
good.
yeah, it's huge.
Samuel Jackson was the bad guy.
Yeah.
As Officer Tenpenny. And it definitely had some heavier themes in comparison to the sillier stuff in the past games. Like they were trying to kind of tackle some stuff in relation to like the like LA race riots and
But
stuff
it was
like
still
that.
silly as fuck.
Oh yeah, no, it's still Grand Theft Auto. I mentioned the music; it was pretty great. And I guess for maybe me, it was just a little bit of fatigue from the previous releases, just because I played a lot of 3 in Vice City, and this game was only a year after, or 2 years after Vice City, I think.
It's 2 years, I think.
It might have been 1 year. It came out in 2004 on PS2. I know the Xbox and Windows versions came out later. It came out in October 2004, so I guess at this point with the new consoles, would they have been announced yet? At least the 360. Maybe that, yeah, it was like gearing towards
I
the
don't
next.
know. We were just out there. 4 more years of punk rock because of Bush. That's all I thought about that year.
Did you have the Rock Against Bush albums?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
absolutely. Incredible
Those
albums.
those were really incredible albums. That was the first time I heard a lot of. But that no, the Xbox and Windows versions didn't come out until June of 2005, and trust me, this is actually going to come into play a lot later for this. But a game was developed by Rockstar North, published by Rockstar Games. Little startup. Not sure if you've heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little company.
But this game was huge. I'm pretty sure it was the best-selling game of that year. Like I said, it was a sequel. It served as a sequel to in the same line as 3 and Vice City, as I mentioned before. But this game went on to sell 27.5 million copies when it was last counted in 2011. Which now that number is, I think, less than half of what 5 has sold. But in that
but
time,
it's
that
still
was,
incredible.
Oh no, it is
Yeah,
incredible.
absolutely.
Because obviously this game received like some real acclaim. It has I think a 95 on Metacritic, which is putting it up near the top of that site, tied with Vice City. Not just quite hitting the marks of 3, 4, and 5, but it's still a heck of a game and a heck of a series. But forget reviews and copies sold because we're not here to talk about that. Today we're going to talk about fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my shit.
Whoa. I
Yeah.
didn't know we were going blue on this podcast.
Now, in the campaign of this game, you mentioned the character CJ, Carl Johnson. You could date one of 6 different girlfriends introduced throughout the story and like side missions and stuff. And you did this by carrying out special dating missions in order to like improve your relationship with whatever particular woman you chose to pursue. I don't really remember the part of this game being that great.
Me either.
Yeah, but I think they were trying to add to the scope and size of the world a little
They
bit
definitely
to make it
improved
seem
on it
more
when
real.
you could date your cousin in Grand Theft Auto 4 by taking him bowling.
But I think the funny thing, I think the reason why a lot of people played these is there was actually some like in-game benefits to doing so. Like there would like be incentives depending on which girl you chose. Like that it was that you took out because like I think you could even like there was a nurse I think that would grant your character with free visits to the hospital without losing your weapons when you died.
Yeah, which is an
Pretty fun.
incredible perk if you think about it.
Yeah. But you would do this for a while, and once you sort of aligned with the same person long enough, completing all the missions for them, the girlfriend would then have a chance of inviting you into their place for coffee, so to
As
speak.
happens in real life.
Yeah.
Once you complete enough missions.
What's funny too, it's funny that they use the code name coffee and rather than like having someone in for a drink.
Yeah.
I don't know, but coffee, and this would also be like whatever. I think whatever time of day that you did the mission would still be coffee.
Yeah.
But
Time for some night coffee.
which the player at that point could accept or decline.
I'm just thinking if I ever like did some mission for like a girl, like went out and, like stole a car and got shot at and like had to do all some wild
Yeah,
shit.
life imitates video
I
games.
better be getting some coffee, dude. I
Hot
don't want
coffee
more-
or cold coffee? In the original unmodded version of the game, players would just see an exterior view of the girlfriend's house with like muffled voices of CJ and his girlfriend doing sexy stuff.
Yeah,
and
where I'm at most of the time.
And that would basically play out from inside the house. But it seemed it seemed innocuous enough, at least for GTA. Well, at least it was until we're gonna fast forward a little bit. Game's out on PS2 for a while. Everybody's loving it. Sells great. Reviews great. Now we're going to jump in time a little bit to June 9th, 2005. And this is 2 days after the release of the Xbox and, more importantly, in this case, the PC with a Windows version. A modder by the name of Patrick W. on the forums. His full name, Patrick Wildenborg. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Of the Netherlands.
Sounds
He's
right.
from the Netherlands. Well, that's a great name. Uploaded a file for download to a site called gtagarage.com, simply titled Hot Coffee. But yeah, I have a little bit of backstory just kind of on the mod itself. And I was never really huge into modding stuff, not back then at least.
Yeah.
It was kind of harder to do so.
I couldn't tell you the first thing.
No.
No. I barely understand how to turn my laptop on.
There's a button.
Yeah.
It
Does it
says
have a power
power.
Yes, it says escape. I'm trying to escape reality. Every time I press it, the laptop will not turn on.
You got S, Catarl, and Pig Up. The site was popular. So this GTA Garage site was pretty popular within the community of those that like to make custom content for these games and dissect code, primarily in the PC versions. But Patrick Wildenborg, Which, if you want to know more about him, there's like a great piece on Eurogamer just like about him, like where he
Nice.
came from and stuff like that. But he was the sort of unlocker of this hidden content. But he did have a couple others helping him. He was well known in the scene because he made a mod that helped increase the number of cars in your in-game garage. I think initially, I don't have it written down. I think you could only store like 4 cars, and he like made it like so you could store like 40.
Nice.
But this was a feature that bothered him that like people like really responded to. But the console version, which is the PS2 one that has been out for months, was obviously like much harder to modify.
Well,
they
yeah.
apparently like spent time looking at assets, but weren't really able to properly create anything until the PC version came out.
Yeah.
So they just studied. They just
more accessible.
They just studied file formats until they waited.
Yeah.
And here's where the story gets kind of funny. While sifting through the PS2 files, this is like in December of 2004, they found files with really enticing names like in the code. And in all caps, they found ones called sex,
Yeah.
kissing,
Hell yeah.
S&M,
Yeah.
and my favorite, blowjobs, but with a Z.
With a Z.
All of which apparently were animation labels. But they also found naked character models on the disc.
Oh yeah.
Although the mini games.
What's the code for an animation label? I got some
Yeah.
text with a Z at the end to make.
them hot PS2
Oh man!
polygons.
So before we go any further, I'm just curious. Did you guys have you guys seen videos of how coffee
Yes.
looks like?
Yeah, of course.
So it's so funny. Like it just feels so quaint compared to now. You were talking about GTA 5 and
Yeah.
like some of the things in that are just so explicit.
And
compared to-
so stupid.
When you
It's
play
so
in
dumb.
first person and you try to get a stripper to like love you, but you kind of like watch the guy come out.
Oh,
like,
no.
Hey, you're not
it's-
touching, are
yeah.
you? It was like the most embarrassingly long time I've ever spent trying to do something stupid in a video game. I was like, can this be over?
That
This
would
is
literally
awkward.
be the moment that your friend comes over or your parents come in, right? Like,
Oh, of course.
Your roommates.
Hey, what do you play?
Yeah,
Just
oh, you know.
rubbing some video game titties.
You ever see when they played that on Conan? And he was, and then the chick's like, what do you want to do to us? And he was like, I don't know, uncross your eyes. Because, like, the character models were, like, messed up. But, so the funny thing about these sex minigames is even though there were naked character models apparently on the disc, the minigames ironically featured them fully clothed. Until you put both of those files together. So
Yeah.
you're just seeing, like, pretty much just, like, dry humping. But so these discoveries, the ones with the raunchy names and character models were found by a modder named Barton Water Duck.
Yeah, classic.
And in March of 2005, Water Duck's finds, along with Patrick's slight adjustments to the code, were put together into a mod that they both felt would prove functional, except they couldn't actually properly test it until the PC version was out in full. So
what do you mean? Like, I guess they tested the code, like, on a computer?
I
Like,
don't actually know.
Yeah.
They just saw that it was it was theoretical. I guess
You
at
can
that
extract the files from the PS2 disc, but there's no way for you to get them back onto a disc to run in a
Gotcha.
PS2.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets kind of sneaky and sort of fun. That Patrick and his team, including Barton, decided to keep this mod a secret like the whole time. They thought if word got out about the mod like early, then Rockstar would scramble to remove it before they knew what it did.
Yeah.
Because I think Rockstar was aware that there was a modding community out there. They just didn't know to like what extent.
Yeah, and who would? Like, I don't know what the modding community is like. You know, we might have to do
Now
we might have
I
to
think
do a
developers
story
are
on
like
that.
way more conscious of it. But like in
ultimately, I wonder
2004,
how strong it was. Like,
Yeah.
there had to be some stuff, you know.
oh yeah, yeah.
Even by 2004, there were definitely already community-driven game series. that had
True,
been
and then
dead
not like
for
a
while
lot of
things
shooters
like
and stuff in
that.
the '90s. People
Yeah.
were making their own maps and stuff like that. Doom had plenty of mods, so did Quake and stuff. But so come release day for Windows, these dudes were so excited that they actually had a fellow modder send in the United States send a copy of the game's script early, since the PC release in Europe wasn't scheduled until 3 days after the launch in the United States.
because they were in Europe.
Yeah. So once they got that, they quickly edited what was sent to him in Hex Editor, which, Austin, I'm sure you probably know more about that program than me. But they flipped this infamous toggle that he believed would reveal the hidden works and then sent it back to his American friend overseas. 15 minutes later, he received a video from that guy what it was. So they were ecstatic. Like, it was just so funny. Not like what they found. So what a lot of people don't know is that he actually found 2 unlockable sex mini games, not one. It's just the one is the one that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
But the first one was actually a game called the Spanking Game.
No Z's there. Surprise.
No Z's, yeah. I'm sure they would fit them in anywhere they could. But where players are invited to smack CJ's girlfriend on the butt, rhythmically tapping a button to raise an excitement bar. Kind of like a shitty music rhythm game.
Hey, if any kids out there, not very far off of how it works in real life.
Well, I like this because the famous second game was actually called the Shagging Game.
Gotcha.
Which... You know, I know that game took place in the early 90s, but I don't think people were throwing that lingo around much.
Yeah, shagging? No, I don't think so.
Where you would move the analog sticks in time with the characters' bodies while they did it in like various positions. Again, with an excitement.
We
bar.
like to think that Rockstar's really cool.
So, Rockstar
Go ahead.
North,
Yeah.
who developed all the GTA games,
Yeah.
is a Scottish company.
Okay.
So that's why it was called the Shagging Game.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yes.
No, I
That
feel
makes a lot more sense.
That does actually.
Yeah.
No, I was saying I was about to say we like to think they're a bunch of like cool guys, but they're probably like nerds, like hardcore.
Oh yeah.
Maybe like I don't know.
I mean,
That's
I
what
don't know.
thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, like Rockstar North has kind of become the edgy studio.
Fair enough. I guess where I'm getting
Well,
at is
not edgy
what do you
in like
think
a
the,
shitty way. I meant like they're with it. Like they seem pretty hip.
I know what you mean. I'm just trying to get at what do you think the lowest quality animation porn you can have that just sexually aroused you enough to jerk off to it?
That's up there.
Like, what's the bar?
Leisure Suit Larry. Which I have a note about that coming up that I purposely hid from you because I knew you'd be excited.
I have to imagine that the people at Rockstar North made that, seeing the animations
Yeah.
for that. Either they cut it because they were not done at all.
Yeah.
Or they're like, this is so stupid.
I think
So
that's
here's-
the
no,
one.
no,
Yeah.
here's the
Like,
funny
They're
thing
not
is-
like, this is
and
fucking hot.
I've looked into this.
No, I didn't think they were. I just meant people in
it's
general.
almost both of those combined with an even stupider reason. So the funny thing about these mini games, and I'll get to that. Trust me, is these mini games were very. There was a lot of mini games in San Andreas. There's a bunch of them in 4 and 5 too, where you could just like go around town and do stuff. And this was like from a gameplay perspective, kind of similar to a dancing mini game that was on the game, which I don't remember that being great either. But in the videos that he got, each character was clothed in both before the other mod was added, and there were no genital shots or anything. But needless to say, the modding community was like, they were so thrilled to find this shit because they just thought it was hilarious. Like they didn't think it was hot either. They thought it was hysterical. He quickly named it hot coffee. From the quote that the girlfriend in the game says, and immediately released it to the public, making it actually the first official mod for San Andreas to be available in the process. That was literally the first mod to come out for that game. And I have this the description for what the file read when he posted it, and he wrote, "With this mod, you will be able to unlock the censored interactive sex minigame with your girlfriends in San Andreas. Rockstar built all the stuff in the game, but decided to disable it in their final release for unknown reasons. And now this mod enables these sex minigames again, so now you can enjoy the full experience."
Yeah, the full
Pretty
experience.
to the point. So, before we go into Rockstar's side, we're going to just kind of talk about how quickly this blew up. Because, like, there are mods now that I haven't seen light the world on fire this quickly. Because no member of the site GTA Garage ever predicted the storm that would, like, erupt out of this. It took less than a month for that story to make national headlines past industry publications. So, like, game sites were reporting on it for a little while, but then, like, this shit was on, like,
The New York Times.
yeah, this was everywhere by the time that month came out, or by the a month after this mod was out. It was really crazy. On July 6th of that year, California Assembly member Leland Yee. Okay, I sighed because I just knew
he's still going.
Oh, really?
He is responsible for when they tried to make it illegal for 17 or under 17-year-olds to buy M-rated games.
That makes a lot of sense.
And he was the guy that he got famous for fighting hot coffee, and then was found guilty of helping people smuggle weapons across the border.
Holy shit.
I have not researched that, so I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that was Leland Yee.
Oh my god, I just love the thought of like, yo, this video game's got tits in it.
Yeah.
It's corrupting our youth. Guys smuggling guns. I couldn't write a better joke. That's so
Yeah, guns
funny.
aren't bad.
Yeah. So he's him and the National Institute of Media and Family, otherwise known as NIMF.
Wow.
Great.
What a bunch of twats.
No, they're a bunch of nymphs. They issued separate press releases basically warning parents of the mod's existence, which this only obviously led to attracted more people to go download it. Like
Yeah,
they
no
just
shit.
yeah, it's
Are you
like
kidding me? If you tell me there's something I can't do, what better? Like, you're reaching to the demographics.
it's like
Alright.
telling kids like what will get them high. You know, like
Let me put this right here
Yeah.
since we're still talking about him. An affidavit was filed on March 14th, 2014, charging Leland Yee with violating Title 18 of United States Code, blah, 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 blah. Yee was accused of dealing firearms without a license and illegally importing firearms. He was also accused of accepting tens of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions and cash payments to provide introductions and help clients get contacts.
you're telling me he wasn't a GTA fan?
Yeah, right? He's a fucking character in the game, for Christ's sake. I mean, we're probably like the gun smuggling could literally be like he ordered a rifle from outside of the country illegally. You know what I
I
mean?
don't know.
It could be one gun, and still technically that would be that law, but still accepting thousands
The
of
only thing
dollars in
that would've-
cash campaign contributions.
That's good.
It's sketchy.
The
as
only thing
fuck.
that would have made this funnier is if he was like found guilty of prostitution or something. Like
right.
like he was like
He was guilty
he was spanking.
of, yeah.
He was found
fucking a bucket full of styrofoam cups used for hot coffee.
He was found guilty of arms trafficking and racketeering.
Holy shit!
That's
Dude,
a GTA
GTA
villain if I ever heard
Yeah, I
one.
was about to
that's
say GTA
brilliant.
6. This guy's in.
So, a fellow modder and administrator of GTA Garage.com named Ill Spirit said, surprisingly, before Nymph and Yee warned everybody, quote unquote, about hot coffee, we only had a couple thousand downloads. When after that, in the media panic that soon followed, it was at over 1 million.
Yeah, no
Their
shit.
server was pushing like 7 terabytes of data a month, and this was back in 04 or 05.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like just to talk about the popularity of this thing, thanks to these idiots.
You know what'll help teenagers stay away from this? Telling every teenager with a giant media platform.
You won't believe what's on this game.
That's what I don't understand about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that like adults, and maybe our generation is different or whatever, but adults still don't understand that telling teenagers not to do something
Yeah,
that's what
is
I'm
what
saying.
gets
Yeah.
I'm
teenagers
saying
to
your
do
that's
something.
like-
demographic is
And-
people who are wanting to just tell them
Also,
not
also
to do something.
two things. Number one, seeing poorly animated sex, not that bad. Considering the fact that you have to go online to download the mod, you know what else is online? Porn. And it's a lot worse.
That's what I was about to say. You were like, I can play San Andreas on my phone. I was like, I can go to Pornhub.com.
and another thing is like, personally, if I had a kid and they did something like, if I heard about hot coffee and went to them about it, they're like, oh, I already downloaded it. I'd be like, you downloaded a mod?
Yeah.
How the fuck? And get them a book on fucking programming. Like,
Yeah.
I would have loved
That's
to
a
see.
skill.
I would have loved to see these news outlets try and I maybe they're probably out there on YouTube, but like try to find those stories of them describing what they think it is.
Oh, probably. They used what they're calling a personal computer, and then they hacked it. They hacked into a mainframe.
I bet those stories didn't even report it being a mod. I bet they just said, "Yo, this
Yes.
is in San
So
Andreas."
on the Wikipedia
Okay.
page for San Andreas, under the hot coffee mod
Right.
subheader, it says in mid-June 2005, a software patch for the game dubbed Hot Coffee was released by Patrick Wildenborg under the internet alias Patrick W, a 38-year-old modder. So it says that it was released by a modder,
But
and
it
calls
doesn't
it the
say-
Hot Coffee mod, but then it calls it a software patch.
Yeah, and it doesn't
Not the same
not
thing.
the same thing
It
at
doesn't
all.
exclusively say he doesn't work for Rockstar either.
Yeah.
You're right. No, it actually doesn't. It makes it sound like it's an official part of the game.
It makes it sound like he's part of the company.
But yeah, so our boy Patrick found himself in the midst of a war zone. Like he with various media like outlets calling and writing for his interviews, and writing for interviews like constantly. His house was staked out by like Dutch news organizations, and he was getting phone calls like apparently constantly. Like he apparently I think there's like a story where he said he like unplugged his phone.
I just imagine him one day pouring a cup of coffee in the morning, and walking out the door and being like, "I changed a 0 to a 1. Fuck off!"
Just helicopters. He has spotlights on him in a robe. Like,
Jeez, I can't believe that. He's probably the most famous European with a weird accent until the guy who made Minecraft got famous.
this guy's probably less racist though. He seems like a good dude. Or sexist or whatever.
And
I
less
forget.
sexist, despite
That's
the
what-
fact that he released hot coffee.
So less than a month after, basically that this was released, and this is all within a span of like 30 days. All this shit that I'm saying, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The ESRB, otherwise known as the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, launches a full official investigation to find out if any violation of their rules had occurred. Apparently, so Austin, you know a bit about the ESRB rating process
Yes.
as well, right?
Yes.
Do you know if it's the same still?
Yes.
That doesn't seem like a good way to.
Here's the thing.
I know it's not like a movie where you can
There's
just.
two. Number one, the ESRB is not a government agency.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
a private
it's private.
company. So that's the thing that they were trying to change. I think it was like 5 years ago, where they were trying to make a government
Yes.
agency to it, because like the MPAA and the RIAA, the
Yeah.
radio and the movie ones,
Yeah.
are the same. They're not
Yes.
government agencies.
This was. We'll get into that a little bit later
but, like,
too about why
yeah,
video games
it's like-
became such a target here.
They charge people to get ESRB rated, but
I think it's $10,000.
yeah, but
something
it's
like
like
Jeez.
Yeah.
you'd have to have a team
Hurts
of
indie
people.
devs a lot.
Well, yeah,
Here's the thing. You'd have to have a team of people to play through every game
Yeah.
Sure.
and find every little corner
Which they
of the
can't
game,
do. Games are
which is
stupid.
impossible. And also, even if that was the
Yeah.
order of things, they wouldn't have found hot coffee.
'Cause
Because
it
they
wasn't
don't know how
You're
to
right.
mod.
That's
You would
absolutely
literally
true.
have to get a software hacker to break apart the files
All
of
the
the game
code.
and look through every asset, every line of
Yeah.
dialogue, every
Yeah.
audio clip.
And there's
Never
no
gonna
way
happen.
they're doing that. Not for 10
No,
grand
so
a pop.
apparently the way the MPAA does it is that's this board of like aggressive parents and other people of personnel. They
Yeah,
sit
mad moms. Yeah, they
essentially,
love it.
They sit in it's a bunch of people of mixed orientations are in a room and they watch the film and they take notes during the movie of the things that they find, like every bit of violence or language or sexuality or drug use or anything, and to like write it down and determine like, not only is this going to be a PG or PG-13 or whatever, or if it's like an R, they have like a very descriptive, just kind of like they rated this
Yeah.
for this. And the
Yeah,
way
my
that
favorite has gore and nudity.
and the way that, and I mean, the way the MPA does it is also pretty fucked because they're just like counting how many F-bombs they hear, and
Yeah.
the second they hear two, they're like, "Oh, it's an R, not a PG-13."
For more information
Yeah.
on this, check out the movie This Film Is Not Yet Rated.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
documentary
Also-
about the MPAA. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and also
Yes.
we're gonna
Yeah, it is.
probably plan ourselves doing a nice little deep dive on the ESRB. and
Yes,
doing a series
absolutely.
about that,
Yeah,
too,
I
so.
definitely want to go deeper into that because. But the one thing I will say is, in this case, and in every, and I guess in all cases of how they came to their rating for this game initially, is that the developers are basically titled with, like, is it a video they put together of all the content in the game that they would find questionable
You
or
make
subjective?
like a super long trailer, and then you deliver that with a packet of information. They
Yeah.
read through it, they watch the trailer, and then that's how they come up with the content descriptors.
Right.
The content descriptors where it's like, like Rock Band is rated teen because it has
Lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
So they give them the songs that are in the game, and then it has like, there's cutscenes in Rock Band. It has tobacco use and alcohol
Yeah.
use because they're drinking out of red Solo cups and people are smoking cigarettes. And it's like most of
Sons
the
of
content descriptors come directly from the developer.
Okay,
'Cause,
that
like,
makes sense because it's very I'd say most game studios know the rating they're going to get in development. Like it's no
Then
surprise.
there's also
They're
no
like,
reason to
wow,
lie
our-
to get slapped with fines either. So
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, and then we're gonna get into that later. So it's like it's basically like they're signing it, like documentation saying, hey, we're not lying about anything, and we're not hiding anything from what we say. But anyway, after this, the ESRB launched this investigation. Patrick, hearing about this, removed the mod as a sign of respect to Rockstar, a company that he loved. Like
Yeah.
he was a huge Grand Theft Auto fan.
Obviously a big part of the community.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so-
And I mean, at this point, it was too late. It didn't matter that the mod got taken down. It was already like that's some like Beyonce get that shit off the internet like
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
good luck.
Yeah, it's over. But now I want to show. We're gonna rewind a little bit, and it's gonna be like a Tarantino movie where I'm gonna talk about what Rockstar was doing at the same time that all this was going on. Actually, we're gonna go back even before the game is out.
Yeah, Tarantino movie rated W for white guy who likes to choke people and say the N-word. Sorry.
He's a good filmmaker. He can't do an Australian accent though.
No.
It's real bad. Now, all right. So the funny thing is, Rockstar obviously they knew about everything that was going on. Like it wasn't a surprise to them that this stuff was found, but both of these mini games were only cut 8 weeks prior to the game's original launch on PS2.
Okay.
And like Austin was saying, like what was the reason? Because clearly it wasn't done, but it was also like. So here's the funny thing: the developers the artists and programmers who worked on this content were specifically told in like a company email to purposely and intentionally push the boundaries of the M rating.
Nice.
Which is why those scenes got developed in the first place. Like,
I like that.
That was part of the like.
Which is Rockstar's thing.
That is
That's what
Rockstar's
Rockstar
thing.
does.
GTA
They're
5
notorious for
pushed
saying
it
"fuck
too.
you"
Yeah.
and doing
Yeah.
things their own way. You know?
And, like I mean, think about it. They made like Bully and Bully was actually a teen rated game that'll come up later, but they produced Manhunt. Yeah, and
It's
Max
one where you can
Payne.
strangle people with plastic bags and shit, right?
Yeah, Max Payne. LA Noire it's got some
Yeah.
pretty heavy stuff in there. Like
You're
it,
allowed to show the aftermath of sexual crimes, just not consensual sex.
Yes, you're not allowed to show sex in a video game, but you can traffic guns across the border.
I didn't mean to reference Bully. That's actually one of their much more quaint titles. You know that
Yeah.
really fucked up game they put out, Rockstar Presents Table Tennis.
Yeah.
There's some shit in there.
Yeah, apparently if you hack it, there's a mini game where there's a guy shoving a tennis racket up his ass, the wide end first.
I want you to really push the E rating. So here's the funny thing is their first idea while this was being developed, these mini games, was to they were going to plan to have 2 separate versions of the game come out on PC. One M and one AO, adults only. Just like Chris's favorite series, Leisure Suit Larry. They did that for the
Yeah.
PC release of Leisure Suit Larry Magna Cum Laude. Which
What
is,
a great pun.
yeah. They made 2 versions for PC, and basically
Oh, I
one had
get it.
nipples and one didn't. But
Yeah.
the console versions were just
Yeah,
M.
it's like yeah,
I thought you were gonna say Laud. Like just
No, it's loud but loud. Also.
It is loud.
Yeah, so like come loud.
Is that
Oh, dude, so
Oh,
many.
man.
Yo, that game hits on so many levels, dude.
It's
Do you
got
think when they came up with that,
layers.
they were like so happy about
Yeah,
it?
they all high-fived and went out for a drink. They're like, dude, we did it.
Yeah. Now the second
Day's
idea.
work done. Cutting that at 11 a.m. Let's get some
They've
drinks.
only been there for 15 minutes. The second idea, afraid of backlash from that, because they knew, kids would be way more enticed to go for the AO rated one than the mature rated, which I should say, it's only one. The descriptor of the M rating is 17 and up, and the descriptor of the adults only rating, the AO rating, is 18 and up.
Yeah.
So
So there's just 1 year.
1 year. But they weren't sure about that. So their second idea was to launch the game on PC in the same state as the PS2 version, in its original M-rated fashion, but then release a special adults-only rated patch that would unlock the sex scenes, similar to kind of how hentai games do it on Steam right now.
Yeah.
Where you they sell basically just the base game, and then they're like,
Yeah,
But
listen up for how to accomplish this, everybody.
though those games on Steam usually make you pay for that content. I think the plan for this was that the patch would be free, but you'd have to go to their site to download it.
To download it, yeah.
Which
yeah,
no
yeah.
kid knows how to do, of course.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But now, get ready for a new segment. Hot buttons: how to acquire hentai and video game porn easy.
It'll be in the notes for the podcast. Just if you, but eventually though, they just settled on hiding the content rather than removing it. because like making it basically impossible for quote unquote for the player to access it from within the game, despite the fact that relevant code was still being left on the disc. But this was due to time constraints, really. That's why those games are so unpolished. Like it was just they had these animation files and these character models.
That's what people did back then.
Yeah,
all the time.
That's what. Remember what happened with KOTOR 2? When KOTOR 2 felt super unfinished and people were like, fuck happened? And then modders got the PC version of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they fucking recreated the unfinished content and it made the game like 75% longer.
Way longer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
that's...
a lot of times, like, if you spend all that money developing code... You put it on the disc because then if you eventually want to finish it, put it out as DLC, whatever.
And it's less of like a patch, it's less work.
Yeah.
And also, it's not like it can be accessed. It's not like a book where everything's there for you to acquire. It's like getting a book that you can only read with a cipher, and like the rest of it's like
some of my favorite
like
stories about like some N64 games and stuff. Like if you ever like read about like I want to do an episode about GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because there's just so much stuff just left on there.
Yeah.
Like it's just like there are entire portions of levels that you can like access that they just like, you know, 'cause I'm sure, like I don't know a lot about programming. I'm sure it was probably it's way easier to do that, like to just be like, we'll just abandon this.
That's because one day one guy starts out and he makes a level and they're like, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, it'll take me a couple hours to take it out, or I could just put an invisible wall there and we can keep programming because we have 5 months to make this fucking game. And I want to see my kids at some point in my life. And then like
timelines on games like that were crazy. I remember on Grand Theft Auto 3, there was like a secret. People found like an abandoned strip of street that was like floating somewhere that you could access by like trying to fly that dodo plane there. And they found out that existed in the game's code because that was where they shot. Well, not shot, I guess is the right word, but that is where the first cutscene in the game takes place. They like built this little alleyway for the opening cutscene, and they just left it in the in the city.
It takes more to take it out, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so like now, having addressed that, we're going to go back to like when this mod gets out, and then, angry parents, politicians, other boring people just start demanding an explanation from Rockstar right off the bat. Because, they obviously, like a lot of these people don't.
I demand an answer. Hold on. This is my racketeering guy. Hold on.
This is Lee.
No, don't worry. Yeah, okay.
Ye?
Anyway, I demand you to explain.
The guns are on their way.
Yeah, just imagine.
Sir,
having
you're
two
on speaker.
phones.
You're on speaker.
No, he's got a phone, and one line is like his arms dealers that he's talking to. The other line is just like angry parents about Grand Theft Auto. That's for my other job. So Rockstar, for a while, they drag their feet for a bit. They mostly stay pretty silent while trying to come up with the right answer that would hopefully get all these people off their fucking backs.
Yeah, because there's literally their game's already out at this point.
Yeah,
there's nothing they can do at the moment.
Exactly. And guess what their statement was?
What's that?
To point fingers.
God.
On July 12th, Rockstar puts out a statement blaming the whole situation on, quote, a determined group of hackers who have gone to significant trouble to alter scenes in the official version of the game. Basically, outright lying and denying all allegations about it.
What a bunch! I changed my mind. They're twats too now.
It sucks. I think. I think a lot of the people who made those decisions are not there anymore.
I agree, and I also think it's definitely not like
it's a huge bummer.
Yeah.
Also, did they think that would work? This mod came out days after the PC release. Like, do you think they did they think they're like modders would go through like the building something that fast? And
Yeah. Well, I think mostly it's probably just they figured that the community wouldn't have much backlash because they knew it was just a mod.
Right.
And they figured this would just get like your average fucking mom. Oh, it was hacked. One of the 4 buzzwords I know about computers. That's bad. So it'll just get them off the tail.
This lie didn't last very long, but they tried. They claimed that the mod violated the game's end user license agreement, citing Hot Coffee as only being possible through, quote, significant technical modifications and reverse engineering.
If you take the word significant out of that, that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it is technical modification and reverse engineering.
It is technical modification and reverse engineering, and it is a violation of the EULA. But,
it's Rockstar.
Yeah.
And also, they don't, they've been mods, you can't stop modders. The most gamers companies have almost given up on it, or like
Totally.
went
Or
to
embraced
great,
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Embraced it, or go to great lengths to stop
Yes,
it.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
I mean, a lot of people in game development come from the modding community.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Because if
yeah.
you spend all your time reverse engineering game code, you know how game code works really well. So
Yeah,
I mean, if
Exactly.
you're Valve, that's just where all your franchises come from. Left
Yeah.
4 Dead mod, Counter Strike mod.
mod,
Like
yeah,
like you know,
exactly.
it's very
all
funny.
that shit.
Like, wasn't Dota a mod?
Dota was mod.
Yeah. So yeah.
There's a ton of game companies who do that. They hire people and bring on people who were
Exactly.
eventual
It's
modders.
smart. It's smart. It really is, and,
I'm
and
pretty
it gets
sure
a lot of
actually-
You know what
Yeah.
else was a mod? PUBG.
PUBG. Yeah, yeah.
little known.
Worse Fortnite, if you ask me. I'm pretty sure.
can you dab in
I'm pretty
PUBG?
sure Bethesda
No.
actually brought on people who helped build mods.
I believe that
on PC
completely, yeah.
to help integrate it when they did the console version.
Yes.
Allowing the mods.
That's
like,
pretty
too.
smart.
So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Austin, maybe you can explain this better than me, but through modification of what did I have here? The main.scm file.
Give me a second.
Okay, they.
he's got
They,
to hack
uh,
real quick.
Yeah, so
Hacking
this is
the
why you're the
mainframe. Hold on.
technical. This is why you're the technical guy. Apparently, this is a common tactic within the modding community. So, like, they shouldn't have really been surprised, but I can't say
Okay.
one way or
I
another.
imagine
I wanted
they-
to confirm that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a thing in programming, not just in games, called XML,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Extensible Markup Language.
Hot.
And basically, what it is
Talk about some
is-
hot coffee.
It's HTML, but you create your own structure to it.
Okay.
So instead of having like body, header, all that HTML stuff, you organize your information in this file that computers are meant to parse.
Okay.
And the SCM file is a schema, which tells the computer what information is located where. So I'm assuming
so
main.
it's kind of like a glossary.
Yes. So
for
I'm
the
assuming
game.
main.scm was just like, here's a bunch of shit for the game to look up on what to run and what not to run, and they went in the XML
What
file
not to run.
and changed a 0 to a 1, and then it ran the hot coffee.
All right.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Rockstar's U.S. Public Relations Office was real determined to push the narrative of blaming.
Of course, we
Of
hate,
blame
we
strictly
hate
on the
sex.
modding
We hate
community.
sex in America.
Yes, they got interviewed. They even told Rolling Stone magazine that the creators of the sexual content were not within the company of Rockstar, saying which is obviously not true. Like, they made that stuff. Like, the
Yeah.
modders didn't make that content; they just unlocked it. You know,
Maybe it might have been some sort of contractor. You never know. You know.
I guess
But I
not,
doubt it, I
but
doubt
it's
it, I
yeah.
doubt it.
But I assume they were on a payroll of some kind, even if they
Yeah.
were contracted. That it's like they knew, because the funny
Eric
thing is,
Prince didn't technically.
wasn't
He's
in-
not technically a U.S. government employee. He just happens to run Blackwater back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, you can get around shit.
do you ever play the video game of that?
What? No.
Blackwater and
I
a
don't
video
wanna-
game on Connect.
Yeah.
No, so they so it's
I don't
funny.
want to contribute to the narrative that actual mercenaries are good things.
I watch movies. I know that. They but so what's crazy here is those emails that I mentioned earlier, you can read them now. Like, companies or employees have leaked that stuff where it's just they're basically just just keep making more and more stuff. Like, we really want this game to be the most M-rated game ever.
Yeah.
Which is what game development was back then. It's like the postal ideology or something.
A little addendum, it could also be a scheme file, which is another programming language. Just in case anybody wants to fact check me. I'm not sure which
You're like,
one
no
it is.
corrections
I did
on
not
it.
make Grand Theft Auto, but
So here's where things get really bizarre. Apparently, the night before that statement I mentioned on the 12th, someone from Rockstar called Patrick in the middle of the night before he unplugged his phone, I assume, thanking him for his work. Now, these are his words.
Right before
but-
they backstabbed.
Yeah, right before
Okay,
they
but go
backstabbed him. He was quoted as saying, and this is in the interview with Eurogamer, the interview with Patrick on Eurogamer. They said they wanted to thank me for the statement I made on my website. At first, I thought that someone was pranking me, but then they confirmed their identity by email the next day. I guess before those news stories broke that night. I guess at that point they assumed that it was enough to get the ratings guys off their back.
That's what I'm
he
saying.
said.
Like, I'm sure they just did the whole said it was hackers so they can get mainstream media off their ass because they.
But like you said, they backstabbed it. It was less
they
than
did backstab
yeah,
still,
less than
you know?
24 hours later,
Here's
he went
the-
from being thanked to being the biggest target in this again.
Here's the thing I'll say.
This time with
is
Rockstar
that
on the other side.
There's a very good chance that the person that called him thanking him
Was
was
not
a
involved
designer
in-
or a programmer.
and
the,
not anybody who
and
made
the
it.
person that
Nobody in
made the
PR.
statement was in PR.
Yeah.
Because
that makes a lot of
the
sense.
problem with modding and hacking is that the people that make the games, the artists, the programmers, the designers,
Yeah.
understand that games are complicated, and the only way to truly understand them is to reverse engineer games.
Yes.
That's why a lot of modders become game programmers, because you learn the most by modding. But you're also fucking with a commercial product. So a lot of your businessmen and PR men hate modders with a passion. So I'm sure it was like maybe somebody from Rockstar was like, got an email that's like, yo, we're going to blame it all on this kid. And he was like, fucking,
Yeah.
I got to call this kid.
Oh, no.
You know what?
You're
That's
probably
that's
right. Yeah,
is
there was
right,
probably
yeah.
an internal war as
Yeah.
well, I assume. Because there were some employees who were pretty cool in this, and others, obviously, who really took the wrong path.
He's going to get blamed for our fuck up.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Because we hit it poorly.
The modding community naturally was real outraged by this for their friend. And obviously they were super upset that that these guys were trying to demonize the whole scene.
Yeah, and
as
their
being the bad
craft.
guys.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
they have
people-
nothing to do with creating it.
Most people don't know what modding actually is, and the first thing that parents and politicians and shit are hearing about this is, oh, it helped them put sex in the game, the gun game or whatever. So then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're a modder and you do this for fun. There's a community around it, and you have a bunch of friends who are modders. You're sitting there and you're like, great. Now politicians are going to be like, get companies like Rockstar are going to go to politicians and be like, we need to outlaw this shit.
Yeah.
Because you saw what happened, and then all of a sudden modding becomes like a felony, and
There
then
was
these people are
there
like,
was a
You
guy,
wouldn't mod a car.
There was a guy within this community who, when this stuff blew up, I just got that, you motherfucker. There was a guy in this community that was on this team who was like genuinely afraid that he was going to lose his job, like that people are going to find out that he was involved in this controversy.
Yeah, why not? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you think that?
Because this was the talk of the town. Times were simpler. So here's where this lie falls apart, and I love this. A lot of these claims, like that the modders created this, were further disputed when it was revealed that the content was indeed featured in the original PS2 version of the game, which of course it was. That's where they got it from.
Yeah.
But all the news outlets that were reporting on this were saying it was, you know, a mod created on PC by these guys. But there was a user known as Gothy. I think it's Gothy.
dope name.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You need some numbers, maybe an X or two.
He put out a cheat on a website called PS2 Save Tools, and it called GTA SA Sensor Remover. Doesn't have the ring to it as hot coffee, but
Yeah, but not.
That's basically what
in
it
all
was.
fairness, this person's username is Gothy. They're not the most creative person out there.
as opposed to Patrick W.
Yeah, our creative username.
Yeah, or Barton Waterduck.
Yeah, well,
that's his actual
that dude
name.
Put duck, okay? I was about to say, at least they just use their names. They're just like, we don't care.
But this cheat allowed both the console versions to access the minigame, showing that the assets were already there inside of the code from the beginning.
Kind of a hero.
Kind of a
Sorry
hero.
for making fun of your username.
Many users within the community stated that this was really that this wasn't really that difficult, because on the PC mod was apparently only an edited copy of the game's main script file with a single bit change, which is what Austin was saying, and the console versions it was the same thing. It's just that you can't access them that way, so it required the use of third-party devices and software, like things like Action Replay. I don't know if Game Shark still existed at that point.
I don't think so.
Probably not. I had an Action Replay for a while on GameCube. That was fun to mess around
Game
with.
Shark was sick, too.
Yeah, I had a Game Shark. I never had the NES one. I had the Super NES one.
I had the Nintendo 64 one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. I did too. Yeah, I had that too. There was a Game Shark Pro as well that you needed for like later versions of the game. So at this point, all of Rockstar, sorry, I was taking a drink there. All of Rockstar's tactics to deflect the controversy failed, pretty much. With senior product manager Corey Wade later, this is like years later, admitting I don't know if this might have been years later, but he admitted that the company chose the wrong strategy.
Yeah.
In an interview, he did state blaming it on the hackers was a colossal PR screw up. It was a complete disaster, and they lied.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's not cool.
Yeah.
This goes back to the number one lesson in life. Never fuck with a programmer.
Shut off your credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the 20th of July, just a couple weeks later, this stuff is still in, this thing is getting passed around on the internet like actual pornography.
Yeah.
The ESRB officially changed the rating of San Andreas from mature to adults only, 18 and up, pending after their investigation. Which is what many people in the industry call the kiss of death for your video game.
Or the 2 polygon sprites fucking of death, as it was renamed after this came out.
As not only do all your biggest department stores like Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Sears, at the time Circuit City, do not carry AO rated titles. This was because these were the 5 largest electronic retailers in the U.S. But also, and this is a little fucked up.
We're gonna go game crazy.
This is still the case. The 3 main leads in the console gaming space, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, all refuse to even allow any game rated as such to appear on their platform. At this point, I'm pretty sure AO games still only exclusively come out on PC.
PC, yeah.
And they're like, to show how rare of a rating that is, a new AO game only comes out maybe once every few years.
Yeah.
I think Hatred was the last game I saw with an AO rating.
And that's still going through legitimate avenues. I imagine most of that shit gets published without a care whether the ESRB
You might be
is
right. Well,
involved to
because
begin
you're
with.
right. Because that's the thing. It's way easier to just like distribute your game without going through the ESRB. Because if you're an indie dev, you're not going to pay $10,000. You just put your game out on Steam unrated.
Yeah.
Steam doesn't require games to be rated, unlike these other platforms.
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Which is the problem that Limited Run and those companies that make box versions of games got.
I'm
caught
pretty
up in.
sure Hot Coffee is partially the reason why they have that descriptor now that says online interactions are not rated by the ESRB.
Wow, really?
Ooh.
Yeah,
That's
because
interesting.
technically modding is an online interaction.
Yeah,
That's
makes
true.
sense.
So if any game
Same
has
with usernames and stuff.
yeah, usernames.
I always figured that came around like birth of multiplayer. Like that's
I thought
what-
so too,
yeah.
but
that
It
makes
might be
did,
right.
but like that, I think they expanded it to include this kind of shit.
Oh,
after
okay,
this
yeah.
happened.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
But this game was literally pulled off shelves. And remember, this is the top-selling game of the year. This game was like pulled off shelves at all of these places I mentioned, while other specialty stores such as like GameStop began to actually put little AO stickers over the M stickers on like
GameStop don't care. They
or
just
not-
want your money.
over
They're like,
sorry, not over the stickers. They put their stickers over the M-rated like the logos on all the boxes, so that they could continue selling the best-selling game of the year.
Yeah, of course.
After carding patrons to check their age, but it was it's really like I actually remember going into a GameStop and seeing like those
same.
boxes with the new stickers on it, which is really crazy. And it was then revealed because of the newly discovered scenes that the game would be completely banned for sale in Australia, earning a refused classification rating, as its previous rating of 15 and up was already the highest available in that country. That actually happens a lot in Australia. Not,
They're
not
real strict.
They're a little more strict about that type of thing. I know Hotline Miami Hotline Miami 2 was never actually released in Australia. The guy who made the game just told people to bootleg it.
Yeah.
Because he's like there wasn't going to be around editing.
which is weird because Australia's like to be strict, but to be like that.
Bunch
Bunch of
criminals.
cunts. I was gonna say that.
And here's the funny thing that I have. All while Europe didn't really give a shit.
No, because Europe doesn't care about sex.
And
They're
why-
more interested in prosecuting their public figures for gun trafficking than they are about fucking.
So-
Also, Japan didn't care, but
No?
GTA,
Okay, that makes
GTA
sense.
wasn't a big thing
As big in Japan.
anyway.
So this game was already rated PEGI 18 in Europe for its violence, so a little extra sex didn't really matter.
Peggy
to
18.
them. PEGI, that's the highest it goes
Yeah.
over there.
It's so stupid sounding.
You never saw like those trailers? Like,
No, I'm
PEGI
just saying
18.
it couldn't be
Yeah.
more like European. Like this is the
Oh,
one time
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
patriotic.
Who
Get a less
what's the-
fucking lame rating system.
What's the rating board in Japan? Do you know what they're called? I'm sure because I know they have. I think they have an 18 rating
Yeah,
as well.
number of tentacles in your video game, 1 through 8. Most games are zero tentacle games.
The
Well,
CERO,
Sarah,
the
that's
Computer
it.
Entertainment
Yeah.
Ratings Organization.
I don't know if they have an adults only equivalent. Like they have an M-rated equivalent that I think that serves fine for them. Maybe
yeah,
not.
they do.
Okay.
It's CERO A for all ages,
Mm-hmm.
B for 12 and up, C for 15 and up, D for 17 and up, and Z for 18 and up.
Oh, are Z games allowed on regular platforms over there? Because the AO rating here is worthless.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's like the NC-17 rating where it's just like, if you find out that's what your movie or that's what your game is getting, you make edits because it's like, and like I think there's a lot of theater chains who refuse to still, to still show
Average
NC-17
one's not going
movies.
to.
Here's
Yeah,
their
so
here's
it's
their
like-
content descriptors: love, romance, sexual content, violence, fear, use of
Fear?
alcohol, tobacco, gambling, crime, drugs, and language. And the only ones that get it a Z 18 and up rating are violence and crime.
Wow, really?
Sexual content and romance
Very good,
are
Japan.
17 and up.
Regardless, Rockstar was pretty much racing to recall the game while simultaneously working within the company to develop a version 2 of the disc with all the content removed. They were trying to recall the game and basically like damage control as fast
Yeah.
as they could. And they wanted to...
All right, damage control plan. Where are we going with this? All right, for starters, blame the community that loves us. All right, check.
Now, while they're all
Now,
pissed,
yeah.
let's and all the politicians stop getting angry. We will make another version of the disc that will have all the stuff removed even with mods, which later we'll learn they failed at that too, which is pretty funny. But they needed this game back on the shelves again in time for fall and for the holiday season. Because especially like the Xbox and PS2 versions came out later, and they wanted as many copies of all three versions as they could, because this game was a huge seller. So what's funny is during this time, not to mention though, like, while employees were all frantically working around around the clock to fix this problem, a protest group known as the Peaceaholics
Bunch of dildos.
were organized outside of their main office spouting against San Andreas and Rockstar's other game, Bully. Oh, I remember I told some people the other night when we were hanging out about this group called the Peaceaholics, and I think I collectively heard their eyes roll. Like, it's fucking...
Peaceaholics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, as if dealing with all this and paying for that recall wasn't already bad enough, this issue became super politicized.
Yeah.
Like it, and I remember this
No
too.
shit, with groups like the Peaceaholics behind it,
Yeah.
how does this not become
a
politicized?
lot of power those guys have. Clearly, they're doing well because everyone's at peace. But everyone's favorite, now disbarred asshole lawyer, Mr. Jack Thompson, pretty much became the primary figure to speak out against this game.
This guy is such like a
He's
colossal
such
piece
a knob.
of shit, dude.
I know, and specifically against the mod.
Yeah.
Like, so this guy, I was like pretty much rose to fame by blaming that violent media was like the main cause of violent crime in America, pretty much exploiting like grief-and like victims of crimes to go after people for money and create, like it's like I can't, like, this is one of the stories doing research that I was like getting angry and had to stop every few minutes because I was just like, this is...
I got a piece around my living room.
But as much as I would love to do an entire episode on this prick, I'd rather just say his name and move on. But he the one thing he was rather infamous for was lashing out at Rockstar in the past on several occasions for all of their games they put out prior.
Yeah.
And a question of competency was also directed at the ESRB themselves for failing to rate the game accurately and appropriately. Like, that's why ESRB was so pissed at Rockstar, because they had people on their backs too.
Yeah.
And this led to the investigation of a bunch of other games that came out that same year that like from parents and politicians about those games having improper ratings on the box as well.
Yeah.
They wanted the game, the aforementioned Bully, to actually be M rather than teen, which is funny because that game is very silly,
Yeah.
like and much more
Well, the
lighthearted.
truth is, the ESRB didn't do anything wrong because what they were presented with and what the game you could actually access.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, was what they
perfectly
did.
Fine.
And it's funny because the ESRB is fucked up on other times, but this is actually not one of the... Because
No.
the other thing is they rated the game The Sims 2 teen pretty... That seems appropriate. And they wanted that game to be re-rated M, and they claiming that the sex and stuff, because I'm pretty sure Sims 2 you could
not
also,
the fact that you could pause it, build walls around your child, and have them pee and die in a room alone. No,
I think the Sims 2.
polygon
I could be
sex.
wrong with this, but I think the Sims 2 allowed same-sex relationships, which is part of the reason that was so. I know all the future the games, Sims games after that do as well, but and then there was another game which was actually kind of a favorite of mine, Capcom's Killer 7, that they wanted to push that game to be AO rather than M as well.
Never played
Again,
it.
not attacking the violence in that game or the themes, but the sex.
No,
which
no
is
shit. We love violence,
Yeah.
dude. Violence is what America thrives on,
Yeah.
man.
Like Killer
We
7
love
is a
some
pretty
killing.
Killer 7 is a pretty brutal game, and there was like one very short sex scene where the characters were fully clothed, but that was,
No.
I think there's like a girl riding a guy in a wheelchair.
Sex
for,
is
like-
weird. How dare we bring attention to the thing that could cure our violence?
And all of this did not take long to attract the attention of Senator Hillary Clinton, who, along with
You
Joe
mentioned
Lieberman,
emails earlier. I knew she was involved.
who along with Joe Lieberman and Evan Bay, I'm not as familiar with him. I know Joe Lieberman. But this justice team later introduced the Family Entertainment Protection Act.
Another bunch of twats, if we're being honest.
Absolutely.
This story's loaded with them.
Suggesting that new regulations be put on video games enforced from a federal mandate. This is what Austin was saying about how the MPAA and the ESRB and stuff like that are private organizations without, the government's intervention.
The idea here with all of these organizations is that you're doing parents a service by describing what's in the game, and it's up to them to do their fucking
job as parents
and stop
Yes.
their kids from playing games. If
Which
they don't
they
want
do.
them to see sex when they're 16, then don't buy the M-rated game for them.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into
Yeah.
we'll get into some of the cases after that, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh man, they make me so angry. But a little sidebar here. Also, I have this down because I'd love to do an episode on this topic as well. This was 2005. This was 7 years before video games were later to become fully protected under the First Amendment. Thankfully, it wasn't until 2012 that they were, put under the same protections as film and music and literature. But anyway, her and Congress also passed a resolution to have the Federal Trades Commission to begin a class action complaint against the publishing company Take-Two about whether Rockstar intentionally undermined the ESRB by merely wrapping the adult content rather than removing it, hereby recklessly knowing that it would be inevitably made widely available. So, like you said,
Honestly, kind of fair.
Kind
I
of
don't
fair.
know.
It's
There's no
like-
way they didn't
it sucks.
know that
It's-
somebody would access it eventually.
you're right. It's
It's also like, fuck off.
exactly.
You know?
It's like everybody is technically they're just being
It's not right in like a
dildos about it.
societal fucking
Yes.
situation.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean?
the
There's no-
foundations that they have built make this the way
Yeah.
it is. But
I mean, I get it, because if someone was to put something truly horrible in a game and hide it behind a mod that a kid could download real easily,
Yeah, you don't
then
want that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
this is the weakest
But the
case.
whole,
for
the
that.
whole reason you're being paid as a private organization is to make these judgments. People are putting their faith in you. It's the whole reason your company exists in the first place.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
because it's like a combined faith that these people are telling the truth.
You know
so
who-
each case should be judged individually.
you know who didn't get sued? The ratings agencies that caused the 2008 financial crisis.
yeah.
They're a private company too. They didn't
exactly.
get sued.
No.
Yeah. But the class action suit concluded, and like you were saying, Chris, it just said, it is our expert opinion that it was inevitable that the modder would locate and unlock such content after the PC version of blah, blah, blah was released and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, technically right. But one of the biggest cases they referenced was a case in New York, and this is what Austin was saying, and what you guys were saying about it being the parents, where it's like, this was after there was an 85-year-old grandmother named Florence Cohen
What a name that hasn't existed in 85 years.
who bought the game for her 14-year-old grandson, who she filed suit claiming that Rockstar and Take-Two were guilty of deception, false advertising, fraud, and let's not forget abuse due to its improper rating because of the hidden content, not because of everything else that you can do in that game. Like, yeah.
Heavy sigh.
Chainsawing
I mean,
cops.
I worked at GameStop for a little bit. Okay.
What was that like? I worked in a movie theater, so I had to do my fair share.
The rating thing was a big thing. I worked at GameStop when GTA 5 was released.
Oh wow.
So
yeah.
I had.
How many kids do you have to turn away?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that. It was a number of should I buy this game for my son? So I'm literally like, I'm in a position as a regular person here making like a
I love the game, and I'd be honest, being
making
like,
a
no.
moral decision.
Yeah, that's weird too, because then I
It
think
is
about my
so-
own childhood.
Exactly, and I honestly would say the same thing. I'd be like, look, to be
It
totally
depends
honest
on-
with you,
it depends
how
on the
old's-
kid.
How old's your child?
Yeah.
You know, like 14, probably not. But maybe 15, 16.
Yeah, but again, that's so
maybe,
specific. You have to be like,
but
will these things bother you or your kid? Like, does your kid have a
I don't know
really
what
good
your sensibilities
understanding?
are.
Like, yeah.
Who knows that he plays GTA and he's like, oh my god, this
You just
video
present
games
the
are
facts.
incredible. You
Isn't
know,
it, like,
it's
we
hard.
talked
It's
about
really
before,
hard.
It's like Halo was
that's
technically
why
an
you-
M-rated
and
game.
that's
In
why-
2000, like I played that when I was 10, 11. Like it's
Yeah.
Obviously, like the M rating in
And that's
that
just
is
a-
very different than the M rating in this. But
Yeah. That's kind of like the Samurai Jack thing, where like Samurai Jack was cutting people up, but they were always like robots.
That's why-
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can get away with it. a little bit.
Peggy, I think, makes more sense. Because rather than doing M and then AO
Right.
and making AO impossible to publish,
just 15 and 18.
it's
Or is it
16 and 18.
Yeah, I mean that's just 2 years instead of one. I mean, I mentioned
It's
earlier.
2 years instead of one,
like-
but like
They do a lot of 16
they also
in
like
Europe, though.
they do
Yeah.
18 plus for adults, and then they make that allowed. Making a 17 rating that's allowed and an 18 rating that's not is just so stupid. to
I
me.
know.
Yeah,
well,
it's
I mean,
redundant.
with movies, they jump from 13 to 7, just two different versions of 17. One being you can have a guardian, and one that you can't.
Well, you can, yeah.
But it's like I don't know. I mentioned earlier that I played GTA 1 when that came out, and I was 7, 8, and I remember back in the days of FuncoLand, you could open a game before you bought it, and I remember the guy not letting me buy it, and my mom being there with me, and then he was like, "Do you want to play it and kind of determine whether or not this is, like okay for your kid?" And she was like, "Okay." So like we opened it up and we played it, and she watched me play it for a few minutes, and she was cracking up because of how crude that game is. It's literally, it's top down. You're looking at a bunch of squares and a bunch of circles. There's a button to fart on people in that
Yeah.
game. Like it's like she was cracking up because it's like, even though that first game is violent as cursing in it, it's so, that was a different era too. So it's like there's too much to take into consideration culturally. It's like really a rating system is like
It's a hard thing. It's
It is a hard
to
thing.
hammer
The
down.
reality is, I actually, if you were to ask me, I think the ETM, NAO, or E10, all that
We
stuff,
didn't.
that should be.
I'm just kidding.
All that stuff should be gone, and the descriptor should matter. Like,
Yeah, the
like,
descriptor's
'cause,
obviously
like
the
Gone
first thing.
Home shouldn't have the same rating as GTA 5, and it does. It's
Yeah.
just like it's.
Well,
Like
it's the same thing. People like simplicity. Simplicity is bliss.
at this
you know?
point,
So
the rating system just means sports and racing games are E,
Yeah.
and then like.
anything else is R.
Everything else
Or,
is
sorry,
M.
M,
Yeah, like it's
M.
just like there's very few teen rated games, and the one that's R are like it's so
It's like
hard.
song lyrics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
exactly. Like Tony Hawk games are rated teen. It's like,
Yeah.
but now it's like graphics and stuff have gotten so good that now pretty much most shooters first and third are consistently going to be M.
Yeah.
But on August 10th, 2005, Rockstar, and this is kind of the result sort of their backlash here. They officially release a patch for the PC version of San Andreas, claiming it fixed a lot of performance issues and bugs and stuff too. But more importantly, the patch disabled the hot coffee mod and the scenes, even if it was installed.
It was also called the cold coffee patch.
Was
Fun
it really?
fact. Yeah.
Fuck. That's that isn't
Fucking
that is
loser.
groan-worthy. Seeing this version too, if you will, is specifically designed by Rockstar to crash if the game data files were modified, which of course just led to the modding community finding workarounds to revert.
Yeah.
Like they saw it as a challenge. Like
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
if
of course.
Here's the gauntlet.
But they figured it out. They found a way to allow the minigames to run again, even on new versions.
Oh, of course.
Rather than old versions.
and
But
I'm glad because one of my favorite mods is the cops and robbers
That mod's great.
Is
Yeah,
Rob's.
I know what
Kim
you're talking about.
introduced me to that
Yeah.
like way back when, and we would play it. I'd be like, "This is awesome, dude!" It's like a full multiplayer version of
Yeah,
San Andreas
it's
City
great.
with like roles for as cops and robbers. It's really
No,
fucking cool.
after this happened, they pressed all new versions of the PlayStation 2 and Xbox discs, and those started to come to market again.
Yeah.
Which was funny enough because this led to some people selling their original copies on eBay
Probably for a lot.
for like higher jacked up prices.
Yeah.
Like leading which funny because this led to users like parents flagging those auctions as inappropriate content for removal. They were trying to take all that stuff down. Which is super funny. But on August 24th, a couple weeks later, Rockstar announces a mandatory recall of all games still owned by the general public themselves, not retail outlets. Consumers who had already purchased the game were allowed to keep it, but only with the patch installed.
I was supposed to say, come and get it.
Yeah, although, because you can't legally force anyone to actually return or destroy any of that shit, obviously. And given the higher value of the uncensored version, it's doubtful that anybody did this. I'm sure some parent confiscated some kid's copy and mailed it in, but like...
You must have, they must have been feeling pressure hardcore from some
Yeah.
places. Like, it seems like a little extreme to like even make it. They must have just had to, like, as a formality, be like,
Yeah, be like-
destroy it or bring them in.
Like in the same way that like, oops, this kid's toy has lead paint on it. Like, but yeah.
Except that lead paint toy isn't being blamed for violence in our communities.
So unfortunately for Rockstar, even with all these changes, the civil class actions continued to trickle on for years. Cases like that one I mentioned earlier, there were a bunch of those.
Yeah.
A lot of people were still against them too. Like Hillary Clinton, the modding community. Shit, at one point, the city of Los Angeles joined in the lawsuits, accusing the company again for not disclosing the game's sexual content. The city of
off.
Los Angeles.
Another first lady fucking up something else.
Yeah.
Bro.
Good
Sorry,
thing-
that's a Nancy Reagan jab.
And
Was it?
Tipper Gore.
Yeah. Nancy Reagan for
Well,
ruining
she's not the
drugs
first-
forever.
She's not the first lady. She was the vice first lady. But when Al Gore was vice president, Tipper Gore's the reason that albums
really?
have the explicit content label.
Oh, wow. That's funny. Well, everybody knows the city of Los Angeles, no crime at all whatsoever. So once they saw that.
Not the literal location for the setting of all these violent
Those
video
naughty
games.
pixels. Yeah, well, that was the other thing. That, like, this game was making a complete mockery and satire of like their culture and
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly. Like San Andreas is literally a mock of LA.
It's great.
San Fran,
It's,
and Vegas.
it's like how superficial can we? Yeah. But the crazy thing was too is that originally the FTC didn't even place any of these fines on Rockstar at the beginning of the investigation. Instead, they put them on notice, kind of like a written warning a cop gives you like when you get a speeding ticket. They stated that
Except that cop's an arms trafficker.
before all the shit blew up, they basically like because before they had all the parents and politicians on their backs, they basically just said, "Hey, Rockstar, if you violate the ratings again, you'll be subjected to civil fines up to $11,000 per violation."
Yeah, which is like $11,000 is nothing, but it says per violation.
Well, that was it. Which
counts
yeah,
for
everybody who
counts for
bought a
every
copy of the game. Yeah, but still, it was a written warning.
Yeah.
They obviously they took the deal, promising that any release in the future would never happen again. It would be 100% relevant to the rating.
Yeah.
Which, as far as I know, every GTA game after that is still tons of controversy, like they always do.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was any hidden content. At least
No.
nothing that would have challenged the rating or the descriptors the game would have already had.
No.
Because there's full blown nudity in the new games anyway. So
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
whatever.
I told you you can literally have a prostitute fuck you in your car in first
There's a-
person in
there's a
GTA
dick
5
in
on the
GTA 4.
console.
There
you
it
know?
is, yeah, in the
Yeah.
DLC. But after several more years of hearing from about 2,700 claimants, those are all the parents, angry parents. On September 1st, 2009, Take-Two finally settled on the suit. They finally settled the suit for $20,115,000.
Holy shit, dude.
Paid into a fund for the benefits of its members.
What for benefits of what? What did they get? What do they need that for? I don't know. Sorry, I just like why? And I was thinking about
I
this.
know.
Okay, all the recalled games that they must have took out, they must have had to pay with the money they made from the profits to press the new ones, so they could even make a profit off the game selling that in the holiday season.
Right.
And then on top of that, your publisher charged $20 million.
I mean, as per the terms of the settlement, This also included an $873,000 Cypress Award to the National Parent Teachers Association that I mentioned earlier, and the ESRB. And the ESRB is the only people they probably owe an apology to. But I would say that everybody else are just a bunch of...
No, they owe an apology to the fucking modding community. The ESRB...
They do.
The
Actually, you're
ESRB
absolutely
probably
right.
wormed their
They
way
do,
in here to
yeah.
get a piece of this $800K because they're fucks too.
They are fucks, but they were just sick of getting yelled at.
I get it.
Because I mean, I don't know if people were picketing their offices too, but it's like I'm sure they were getting dead fish in the mail from everybody, every.
How's this fish rated, you fuck?
This is like, imagine you're walking down the street and somebody comes this way and they're like, yeah, there's a guy behind me. I think he robbed somebody, so watch out. And then you go and he robs you and pulls out a gun, and then you go back to the other guy and like, yo, why didn't you tell me he had a fucking gun? And you're like, I told you he was gonna rob you. You should have left. And they're like, yeah, but he had a gun though. Like, that's the
Yeah, I could knock a robber down.
This is what the equivalent of this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a bit of the legacy of that this left, right? So what happened to our pal Patrick? Then an interview,
Dead. Rockstar assassins
he
killed
washed
him.
up on shore. No, so today he says he has few regrets. He was quoted as saying, "Looking back, I still would have published the mod." He said if he hadn't published it, it would have been inevitable that somebody else would have found it later and made it public.
Yeah, of course.
Echoing the quotes opposing Rockstar earlier, of course. But he said it's a great story to tell at parties and to my grandchildren when I'm old enough and wise. He said, yeah. And which is funny because those at Rockstar,
Which means he has kids. So this guy, he had some hot coffee.
those
of
at
his own
Rockstar
in the
now.
meantime.
Yeah, they played the spanking game and he had kids. Those still at Rockstars, they don't like to talk about it. Mostly because I'm sure they feel embarrassed. Like Rockstar is seen as
They
being
should
a
feel
pretty
embarrassed.
cool company.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. And they should feel embarrassed.
yeah, and they should. It's a bummer because they're one of my favorite developers. Their PR and like Austin said, it was most likely not anybody who like any artists. Or anything like that.
Yeah, obviously the artists have no say in PR.
I got
or
a
that
big
shit
problem
anyway.
with putting any blame on Rockstar though too, because the
Yeah.
game was so silly and stupid. It's more the system that's fucked up.
No,
and they
the
got
system
screwed.
is
no
fucked
shit,
up.
they should have
It's-
never
the
had to
number
react
one
to
is
it in general.
Society is the biggest, like,
Yeah.
it's like, because that's the thing. It's like, if I sound like I've been like, against Rockstar here, it's like I'm not. Like, if it's anybody in this story who I think is like, it's you're just like looking at Jack Thompson and Joe
parents.
Lieberman and Hillary Clinton and the parents. Like, it's like politicians are obviously sticking their dungs where they shouldn't, but it's like it's all up to the parents. Like it's
Almost like we shun sex
entirely
because
on the
we're a
parents.
culture of violence, and we're a culture
Yes.
of violence because we like violence, because violence promotes brutality, and brutality is all about weapons, and weapons runs the economy. It's so crazy. It's so weird. you're all
That's
crazy.
the problem. We're gonna like start talking about like video games,
Oh, yeah.
and then like fast forward 90 seconds,
the
and it's
problem-
just deconstructing capitalism.
Yeah,
and, like,
the problem with hot
yeah.
coffee is that it. I guess not the problem. It shows everything that's wrong with all.
It
this
does.
shit.
It absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like this whole foundation is
Yeah.
fucked. Like yeah.
A lot of time and money went into complaining about one of the worst looking animated sex scenes I've ever seen in my
history.
life.
Yeah,
like
of
I
course.
can't emphasize enough how like small of an issue this feels just compared to now. Think about like outrage culture now. Like it's just like man, like it's unbelievable
The
that this had a
funniest-
nation in a fury. Like
The funniest part of all this is that you go back to the court case of the old lady with her grandson.
yeah.
He was 14. You know
Yeah.
who else was 14 when that game came out?
Oh, us.
Us.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah,
I
that's
remember seeing in 2005.
I was 15 technically, yeah.
Yeah, when the hot coffee thing came out, and I saw a video of it online, and I was like, "Man, that's stupid."
Yeah.
Like,
LOL.
Well, yeah. You know who wasn't
like,
outraged at
fuck.
any of this? The players.
The
The
people who were
kids.
supposedly being affected.
Yeah, like
Oh.
exactly. They gotta protect us from ourselves. Like, yeah.
It's okay. It's gotten better though. Now we're just shooting at kids and telling them to not be afraid instead of telling them their video games aren't violent. Anyway.
Oh man, yeah, no, yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like Jack Thompson was famous for. It's just like no, it's not mental. It's not the state of mental health in this country. It's the issue. It's not fucking like gun culture in the NRA and regulations on that. It's
Columbine is because of Grand Theft Auto.
No, Columbine is because of Doom.
Oh yeah, Doom. Yeah.
And Marilyn Manson and the movie The Matrix. Everyone knows that. But the final costs of this whole thing were pretty significant beyond just the financial stuff. It took years to undo the emotional damage to the fan community and the relationships between Rockstar and that. Like nowadays, it's like with it's like. It's just with the unfathomable numbers of dedicated GTA 5 players, both online and off. And
I was just playing yesterday.
It's fucking and,
2 days ago.
And combined with the excitement and love of like Red Dead, you know, with the new one coming out, like it seems crazy to think that there was a time when the most passionate Rockstar fans actually felt like betrayed and alienated. Like people actually, it's weird to think that people felt disenfranchised from Rockstar because now at least they have done a good job of like doing better. Yeah, like it's just like because it's like now I'm pretty sure that's
because their role, like if anything, Rockstar is continuing to do this. It's just people don't care as much because Rockstar's role has always been taking a magnifying glass and holding it up to society.
Yeah,
like, that's what GTA is all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the reason it's so hyper-violent is because it's a commentary on culture.
Absolutely.
And especially,
I'm glad that you said that.
And with advancements in technology, I didn't particularly like 4 a lot, but it definitely talks about a lot of shit, especially wars and like violence.
I mean, 4 paved the way.
Yeah, but 5 has such like a great dialogue. That whole game, everything mocks something about society's absurdity. Like,
that's what's so funny. That's what I try and explain. Like I remember GTA 5 obviously had its huge share of controversy when it came out, where people were calling it, you know, like misogynistic, just in the same way that people were saying that 4 was like racist for its portrayal of like foreigners chasing the American dream and stuff like that. But it's like no, it's a satire. Like it's blatantly like being like, yes, GTA 5 is misogynistic because America is. Like it's just like that is why, like it's blatantly trying to, you know, be like you fucks, like, you know, like
pay attention.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to go over something I found.
Sure.
The PEGI, so ESRB doesn't do this, but PEGI does this. They have they released a report in 2015. They've rated in their history 1,900 games. Okay. And they have descriptors for a whole bunch of shit. And it says of those 1,900 games, 64.7% of them have the violence descriptor. 18% of them have bad language. 8% of them have fear. 4.7 have sex. 1.4 have gambling. 1.2 had drugs, and no games to date have used the discrimination descriptor.
Why would you even put out a game at that point?
May contain scenes, behaviors, or references to cruelty or harassment to a group of specific people based on race, religion, ethnicity, gender, ability, or sexual identity.
I think that's like a sting. That's so they know that your game, that's so publishers steer clear of your
honestly,
fucking game.
I'm surprised.
It's like
there have been games that
here at White Supremacist Industries, we're about to put out our game. Oh wait, we have Nazis in it. Discrimination. We make sure we put that in. Like, we got to, you sons of bitches. You can't publish
what's
your
funny
game
about
now.
the AO rating here is that it's pretty much specifically just reserved for sex. Like it's because it's obviously with games like the new Mortal Kombats and everything, like you can make a game as horrifically violent as you want, but it's like the only games I've ever seen to score the AO rating for like that wasn't for sex were gambling games that you needed that you would put in a credit card to like actually gamble with
sex
money.
it's private. It's something like a businessman does with his mistress or like a priest does with the child. Like it's not like something that like we want to bring attention to here in America.
Or at least until I mentioned it recently, but Hatred was the only one I ever saw actually stick with their. But there was some other kind of stuff about that game.
It's a bunch of dickheads.
Oh yeah, I was like there was like I don't know if that rumor came to light that those people were actual tied to some pretty fucked up shit, but more or less it was not a great game anyway. So a lot of those in the scenes were afraid to give them more press for a while. People were still pretty bitter. It was ugly, but now they're, you know, a lot of those relationships I'm sure have kind of been bonded and now they're respected almost universally again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave this on kind of a funny note just because, you know, it's like we can get really angry talking about the politics of this all day. But Rockstar's boss could not resist just one last final dig at the critics of this time. And San Andreas' follow-up, GTA 4, I'm sure everyone's familiar, being based in a fictionalized New York City, and they needed a Statue of Liberty stand-in. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
So naturally, the developers thought it would be cute to model it after no one other than Hillary Clinton herself.
Yeah.
Except holding, instead of holding a flaming torch, they decided to give her a nice steaming cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Statue of Happiness in the game. It's
brilliant.
Which is pretty good. And of course, naturally, sex in games was defeated. Forget everything featured in GTA 5 and all the David Cage games. It never happened ever again. But I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts, but that was kind of a big ride. I do have one last quote here from Mr. Patrick Wildenborg to play us out.
Which this is a good way to end it. I won't say anything else because he echoes everything we've been saying.
He
for a
absolutely
while.
does, which is kind of why I like this so much. But he, at the end of this interview, he is quoted as saying, "Why would a 17-year-old be allowed to run around the city bearing weapons? A game in which you're free to shoot cops and beat up women, but in which you're not allowed to make love to his girlfriend after dating her for a while." So, why indeed, Patrick?
That's pretty good.
But that has been Hot Button. Thank you
Hell
for
yeah,
sticking
we
through us
did
with
it.
this big one. I knew this was kind of one of the bigger scandals, so that was
Yeah,
there was
it's
a
a
lot
good
of
one now.
research, but that's a good one.
There's a lot of good little bites in here.
Yeah.
Take a bite. Yeah,
Take
maybe.
a bite. See you. Go play the shagging game, the spanking game.
Do you want to plug
safe.
some Twitters or should I? Do you feel like talking
you can
anymore?
plug some Twitters. My throat's a little dry.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You can find us on Hot Button Cast at you put it at.
The
what is- yeah, it's an A.
I almost said ampersand.
I can't.
Sorry.
It doesn't work in audio format, but I'm spelling it out in the air. If you don't recognize
It's
the
the
symbol.
He's drawing it there. That's what
Oh yeah, no. At Hot Button Cast, I'm at Chris I something, at Restart Randy, at Austin Blakesley. Right?
Yeah.
Classic.
That's
Just
all
the
of us.
name. Yeah, I like that. I can't do that.
And
I
we
have to
will-
spell it every fucking time.
we will be back next week with another topic, so stay tuned.
See you later.